Welcome back to the Marvel Movie Minute, a daily podcast which we smash apart the films of the Marvel Cinematic Universe into 1-minute chunks so we can analyze them in scrupulous detail. I'm Kyle Olson from the Road to Infinity podcast.
Hey, and I'm Rob Cabasco, and Kyle.
Yes, sir.
What do the Who's from Whoville have in common with the Apes from Planet of the Apes?
I would like this to be another Cabasco stumper, but in fact I know because the answer is Mr. Terry Notary, who our interview series continues here in minute 109 of 2008's Incredible Hulk movie, directed by Louis Leterrier. We are going to be talking about the thing that I really wanted to know. We're going to get into sort of the real biographical data of Mr. Terry Notary. He was a gymnast out of college who then ended up working on some of the biggest movies in Hollywood history, including the biggest movie in Hollywood. And I was like, how does that happen? Like, how did you? And so in this, he goes from his first professional gig all the way up to when he got the call and started working in Hollywood. It's a pretty exciting story. Once again, like most things with him, no one could repeat this. Like this is it's like his path to stardom is so uniquely personal that no one's going to be able to follow in these footsteps.
With amazing lessons in work ethic and putting yourself out there and being generous.
That's right.
Yeah,
that's
awesome.
right. Yeah, exactly. How to get noticed the right way in Hollywood.
Exactly.
So, but without further ado, let's send it back to us and Mr. Terry Notary. So when you were in Cirque, you were sort of a featured performer, but then when you got the call to work on How the Grinch Stole Christmas for Ron Howard, you sort of became a teacher. So how was that transition? Like now all of a sudden there's people in front of you like, okay, teach us how to be a Who, and you have to be, okay, all right.
Okay, funny
here's
story.
how you do it.
It was a really funny story because I didn't know anything about film or anything. It was my first movie, and they brought 5 of us in, 5 Cirque people, and they were all from Mystère, to come in for about 5 weeks before we started rehearsing, right? And Ron Howard said, "Okay, guys, come on in, and I want you guys to just play. Here's Whoville, and you just like do something funny over there, cool stuff, and just come up with anything you can, and video it, and just and you do flips anywhere, whatever you can think of." And video it, and at the end of the week, we're going to compile all the best stuff, and we're going to put this great stuff in the movie. And we were like, awesome, let's go. So we were skiing down hills and doing all this stuff, teeterboard, flips over there, doing everything we possibly could, And so at the end of the 5 weeks, the extras started coming in, and they were all, and I'd been thinking about like how Who's were going to move, and like doing all this research on,
what does Who research look like?
Well, you just go from the books, I mean, it's like, how do they move? And, it's like, so they were like this S-curve sort of, wavy sort of, everything's kind of got this sort of, I don't know, seaweed-esque sort of, reed in the wind kind of thing, and so anyways, the extras started coming in. And they were all circus people from the town. They were like vaudeville guys and jugglers and clowns, and it was a cool mix of about probably 15 people. And they're all like, whoop, 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 I'm gonna move like this, I'm gonna do this, and I'm like, so I sort of gathered them together, and I go, hey guys, look, why don't we all come up with this common denominator, this sort of like common like thread that we all have, so that we all look like we come from the same gene pool, and then you can go off and become your own character, but we all have this sort of commonality in how we're going to move. And I started work with them and teaching some of the guys, and I was just helping. In Cirque, you just help everybody, you just do it, it's a family, and you just kind of, hey, come over here, I'm going to teach you the one arm handstand, and come here, Joey, I'm going to work on your backflip with you. Come here, whatever it is, it's like family, and film isn't like that. Film is very job oriented, and I didn't know, But Ron Howard was walking by and he goes, "What's he doing? What's he teaching them?" And he's like, "Oh, they're working on some. I think he's working on some movement stuff with them." And I was like, "Okay, have him come into my office." And so I was like, "They're like, ooh, Ron Howard wants you in his office." And I was like,
Hope he's mad.
Like, this could be bad. You might be fired. And I was like, "Oh, dude, I blew it. Oh my God. Oh no, really?" And so so he comes in and he said, "I love what you're doing, and I want you to teach Whoville, Who School." And he said, "Here, I'll give you a sound stage, and you make a list of everything you need. Wow. Teeter boards, fast tracks, spring floor, packages, props, unicycles, all ladders, everything we could possibly think of. I got a spring for for the moment where it just gets his foot stuck, and like all kinds of stuff. It was crazy.
What a fun shopping trip that must have been.
It was amazing. And then when all the actors, the real actors in the movie came in, and I was like, wow, okay. I'm working with Bill Irwin.
Yeah, I was going to ask about that. He's an old school vaudevillian.
You know, and so he was super cool. Bill Irwin is he's such an awesome dude, you know, and just got into it and helped us with it. And it was great. So
and most of our younger audience will know him as Mr. Noodle.
And that was, yeah, exactly. He's just such an amazing, generous guy and so talented. So that was how I became a movement coach. And I got to thank Ron Howard a few years back and go, "Hey, Ron, remember me, Terry? Hey, how you doing, man? Yeah. Thank you for that career you gave me."
That's awesome. Fantastic.
It was cool.
I say at this point, this is where the Apes entered your life, because then I think the next call you got was Tim Burton to work on his Planet of the Apes movie.
That's right. So, yeah, they said, well, you did Who School, and Charlie Crawwell was the stunt coordinator on both of those films, and he said, "Can you do Ape School like you did Who School?" And I said, "Yeah, I can do it." And I was like, I'm going to the zoo. I gotta go watch some apes. And then I was struggling. Because I was like, oh man, how do you move like an ape and bipedal and just talking and the whole thing? And then it was one of those things where I had learned so much about what not to do on that film. That it really was an eye-opening experience, that whole film, for many reasons, because it was like I was emulating an ape in the beginning, and then I got to work with these two chimpanzees, Jacob and Jonah, and this chimpanzee jumped up in my arms because I doubled Tim Roth in that film. He plays Thade, and I had to work with these chimps. So I had this big fight sequence at the end with them, and I'm wrestling with them. And it's Mark Wahlberg's chimp who jumps on my back, and I throw him down and whack out and hit him across the room. And so we had like a good month and a half working together, and this chimp and I just bonded, and it was a life-changing experience working with this chimpanzee. He jumped into my arms, and he looked in my eyes, and I got absolutely scared. I got so scared because he looked right into my soul. It was like,
wow.
It was like he just looked right into my soul, and he just saw me. And I was like, and I just sort of softened to him, and it was like, and he just we just connected on this insane level that was I was like, okay, I'm trying to learn what it means to be an ape by watching him, but he just taught me what it means to be human and what I need to do in order to become a better human.
Right.
And it was to be like that. And that, from that moment, it all changed. It all changed. The integrity they have, the strength. I learned about soft connection. I learned about undoing the noise in the mind. I learned about extrinsic versus intrinsic strength. They have this softness about them, but they're so strong at the same time. There's this like amazing economy and lack of trying. Like they don't like try. It's like it just happens because there's no doubt. There's no mental obstacles that get in the way of hitting the task. You know, it's already done in their mind. They've already done it, and so it's like it just happens. And when you do that, it's beautiful. It's beautiful because it doesn't become a thing, right? And so, I mean, so many. My biggest pet peeve is the boom, boom, you know, the 3-point landing thing where you become all about yourself, and then you go back out into the world, you know. And it's like, I like when things are subtly beautiful, so that it passes through the screen, and you're like, that was cool. You know? Not boom, boom. Oh yeah, show it. Okay, next. You know, you want to like have the camera be able to continue to push in and milk it, and then boom, then you cut. You know, so it's all about undoing effort. And so that was a huge thing for me, a huge revelation in the teaching is undue effort. If you find yourself in a pose and you become aware of yourself, that you have to lose the awareness. You have to make that thing out there so much more important than you that you disappear. You are so engrossed and so engaged with the things out there that you virtually disappear from yourself, and then you become beautiful. Then you almost, when people hit that state, it's like you can see what they look like as a child. It's weird. It's like you can see the true person. And so that's one of the big practices I do in the beginning when I'm working with actors is working that muscle of undoing the awareness of yourself, undoing the self-direction, undoing the ego, really is what it is. It's dissolving out. That's why animals are so beautiful. That's why babies are so beautiful. That's why children, when they're sitting out at the ocean, they're so just sitting there, just boom, present, wide open. They're not thinking about themselves. They're not thinking about how they look. They're not aware of this you know, thing, this body that your spirit is you know, utilizing. It's this beautiful being that's just being present. And when actors can do that, it doesn't matter if they're playing a bad guy, good guy, anything, you know, it's like this little drop happens. It just goes boom, and it's a gravitas. A gravitas hits the character, and that's why you're like, why is that actor good? I don't know. He's just good.
Yeah. Have you seen Once Upon a Time in Hollywood?
Yeah, I loved it.
That moment, I mean, the first time I've seen like that actually be able to articulate it on screen is when you see, you know, Leonardo DiCaprio as his character in the moment, and then you see the same scene again, him out of the moment, and it's so jarringly different. To be able to have an actor portray that was amazing. Amazing.
That the performances in that were just incredible. Yeah, it was amazing.
So how was Tim as a orangutan student?
He was a chimp, yeah, and he was incredible. We became very good friends on that film, and people couldn't recognize us from one another. So I would when I was in his costume, when I was in his suit, you know, it was so funny. I was treated like royalty. It was like
did you work on your English accent to make sure you could pass?
Wow. Yeah. Hey, is there anything we can do for you? Do you need anything? Is it tea, coffee, like biscuit? You know? And it's like, damn, Tim, it's good to be you, man. So, you know, it's like, I just went with it. I was just like, okay,
sure.
Yes, coffee would be great. You know? Because then the next day I'd be in a chimpanzee outfit and people would be like,
get to the back. How was working with Tim Burton?
Yeah, he was great. He was just this creative, madman, just kind of like drawing stuff up and, kind of just letting us run. It was good.
All right, we're back in the studio. That was a lot of fun. Like I really liked it. It's interesting to see him as a sort of physical performer, sort of turn into a mimic there a couple of times.
Right.
Like when he was doing his impression of Ron Howard or a little bit of Tim Burton. So I hope if you guys get a chance, also check out the video components of this, which will be out there somewhere to see really how even in these interviews, he like physically transforms as he's talking about these particular things. Next, we're going to get into some pretty cool comic book movies. So make sure you're back here for episode 110. Thank you all for listening. We will, of course, find us on all the social media things. We have our group on Facebook. We have a Discord. We have Twitter. Wherever you are, that's where we want to be. Make sure you're back here for our next episode. Thank you all for listening. Until next time, true believers.
Bye.